Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, the commission will continue, and we will go on to our second public hearing. This is the rezoning, number 16-0609 Boulefont Homes. Mr. Pryor, we'll have is your presentation involving the CUP as well?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to do this simultaneous as far as discussion?
Yeah, as far as, discussion and
Okay.
look to Andrea as far as we open and close two public hearings, that type of
Well,
thing.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
So the presentation will also include CUP 16-0609.
Good evening again. We've got the rezoning and conditional use permit for the Boulefont Homes. And so the request is two-part: one, to rezone property from R2 to R3 to construct 6 single-family attached homes, so 12 units total. And in R3 zoning, if you're doing single-family attached, duplex, kind of those terms in our zoning, then you need a conditional use permit. So the existing use, like the previous one we talked about, forest or undeveloped, but it is kind of situated within the North Macon Terrace neighborhood. You'll see that here in a second. So to give a little context to the site of where this is located, we have North Sneed Street, James. Here's North Macon Terrace neighborhood. Here's Carter Hill over there, and Chapman Street, and the field of Green Acres there to the west. If you get closer in, as you can see, as North Macon Terrace was developed out, they sort of stubbed Haley Court and Cali Street that would eventually kind of continue as this area developed out, continuing grid pattern, future development of neighborhoods as we like in Ashland. So the application, just a brief overview. We'll see some pictures here in a second, but 6 lots, common area, so 12 total units, 2.66 acres, which is 4.66 units per acre. It would be an age-in-place, age-restricted, 55-plus community. The applicant, they'll talk to this, but through this they've mentioned they'd like to continue the architecture of Ashland, small town, quaint cottage-style homes is how they describe some of their product. And looking on through some of the regulations, but also in landscaping, continuing the streets, making it a quality landscaped area, quality stormwater features, lighting, and gazebo. And so this gives you an idea of what would be proposed. They've got some prettier pictures there, but here's my kind of blockish attempt to show you what some of those parcel lines. So Cali Street and Haley Court would then be connected, and you have like 6 kind of individual lots there, and then this is some common area where the gazebo and some other facilities would be. This is their rendition of just kind of how the layout of the homes would be. They're a little bit almost turned at times to give it some different views or architecture, and it almost, because of how these are turned and you have kind of a single driveway entering, it really reduces the idea of a bunch of driveways just stacked up together along a roadway. And so the proffers, which we've received some updated proffers, and I printed off those for you all out there as well. But these are very important because, again, these are the regulations that will guide hard and fast rules on what this would develop outside of what's required in the regulations for R3. So it's very important that you take a look at what's in those proffers that are being submitted. So some of the things that are in there is a conceptual plan, so it'd have to be developed to be in substantial conformance with that, and housing elevations. Only 2 of the housing elevations in the entire development could be the same, so that's an attempt to get some variety. There'll be a color pattern sheet, which you'll see here in a second, that kind of references these heritage 1820 to 1920 colors. Age restricted with an HOA that would do the property maintenance that you would pay into. And then minimum square footages as far as living area and second floor area. And then in looking at tree preservation and looking, really trying to make this compatible with some of the woods that are there, preserving 3-inch caliper trees, unless for if you're putting a driveway there or for stormwater facilities. And the right-of-way connection you'll see here in a second, because the idea that this neighborhood could continue to extend to the south and to the west would be basically maintained or allowed to exist. And so this gives you a little more technical drawing idea of what the conceptual plan is, where some of those lot lines fall, and some of the lot sizes, as we saw in that more colorful picture. But this would be included with the proffers, so it would have to be developed, if approved, to that layout plan. These are the color patterns that we've talked about, and so with that, the applicant has offered, basically sticking to using these as the neighborhood develops. Here are some of the elevations. There's more of them included in your packet, but I just pulled out some of those from there. And we really use these elevations because when we get into that density bonus discussion, which we will hear in a second, we really look at a lot of those architecture elements, windows, roof lines, quality of materials. These all score points as far as allowing you to do a higher density development with those included. So as you can see from these elevations, you are able to pull some of those check boxes out. And there's the side. So continuing on the proffers, front porch, carport, 250 square feet would be on each house. Hard surface driveway, the patios with stamped concrete, the driveways of concrete. The foundation, it would be sort of a zero entry floor, but it would have a stone veneer if any foundation was exposed. Looking at the VHDA design standards, so really trying to give, besides just saying it's age in place or it's for people 55 and older, really looking at what are some standards that the industry has around it, and they've said they would include those. Looking at our stormwater features, so it's not just going to be a chain-linked, just kind of really eyesore for the community, but they've included language about rain gardens and landscaped swales along the sidewalks that would meet some of our comp plan recommendations. Landscaping package with front post lights in each house, and then a gazebo in the community area. And applicant will talk a little bit possibly to how they see that as really enhancing the kind of lifestyle for people who would choose to live there. So zoning, what can be done today without this rezoning? What could be built tomorrow without any public input? Would be 8 homes, minimum of 10,000 square feet lots, so 3 units an acre could be built today on the property. And a lot of the elements that the applicant is required to do, the same would be done of somebody submitting a site plan. So stormwater, utilities, street lights, sidewalks, curb and gutter, landscaping, street trees. A lot of the stuff that we just talked about in the Penske case as well for commercial land, we know applies to some of our new residential regulations as well. So here's what's existing. The R2 zoning, as you can see, R2 basically is the same zoning of the surrounding neighborhood of North Macon Terrace, Haley Court, North Sneed Street. Up to the northwest there is you see the start of Carter's Hill and the RRC zoning. So what's being proposed is the R3 zoning with a conditional use permit, 12 units on those lots for 4.6 units an acre, connecting the road in a grid pattern, and again, all those regulatory elements being met along with the proffers that are included. And so that's what the zoning map at least might look like in the future with what's being proposed, this being R3 kind of surrounded by R2. And as you back out, you see this a little bit more in context. So this is the property we're talking about right here. You do have R3 on the eastern side of North James Street here with Elm, Park, Glendon, that type of area, and then over into Berkeley Town. But as you can see, the northwest area of town, kind of west of James Street, is majority R2 zoning district. And so the future land use, low-density residential for this area, 1 to 4 units an acre. We talked about in some of the previous, housing rezonings that this idea in the comp plan that we would allow for denser development, but if it's more quality and really raises the economic and quality of life for our town. And so between the comprehensive plan design guidelines, we've created a housing checklist, and I believe that's included in your packet, but it kind of walks down through what's required and then what are those extra amenities. And so in looking at our future land use plan, what I just talked about with the future land use, the low density residential color, is what you see on the screen. It's the same color that's built there for North Macon Terrace. As you get south of Sneed Street, though, it moves into a more medium density residential. So again, that's what would be proposed. To look at the context of this again, so you have the property here, and as you can see, kind of Cali Street, the future plan would be to take that, connect it into North Sneed. And as this area, it's really two pieces of land, and then maybe some of these over here that are a little more landlocked. As this develops out, you would connect that street basically over there to Chapman, building out more neighborhoods along the grid pattern, following our policies. And so, in really looking at this, and I think what Nora and I, when we were going through and evaluating it, really this is a case of infill development. And so we have to look at the context as far as North Macon Terrace and how this would build out. So the proposed price points, the next couple slides I'll say at least, this is looking at this application in the context of North Macon Terrace. So the proposed price points of these houses of $300,000 would be higher than any of the current individual assessments of the North Macon Terrace homes. In North Macon Terrace, you had proffers as far as what the minimum square footage would be. These homes at 1,500 would be greater than that minimum required in North Macon Terrace. Then did a little economic impact or analysis of, is this raising home values? We always want to look at that as far as attracting that $300,000 and above home into Ashland to balance our housing market. So if you look at the current site right here, you've got, and some of the reds are kind of blending together, but you've got this at 50,000 to 150, and as you can see, it's really a mix of that kind of 50 to 150, 150 to 300, and then greater than 300,000. And so if you took the neighborhood today, without it being developed, that's what the proposed line on the screen is. That's what's existing, the bottom line. And if you add in 12 $300,000 homes to that area that I just pulled on there on the map, you'll see it actually brings the average assessed value of this neighborhood, of this area, up from 166 to 177,000. The average size incrementally goes down from 0.41 lot. Basically, the lot size goes from there to 0.4. The number of homes does increase, as you can see, and that's how you get the overall units per acre goes from 1.59 to 1.74 for that neighborhood area. So still within a pretty low density as far as kind of what we're looking for in Ashland neighborhoods. If you take the average lot size of what's being proposed here and compare that to North Macon Terrace, you actually have larger lots. Now there's 2 units, they're single-family attached homes, but they're on larger lots than what would be in North Macon Terrace. And if you combine the North Macon Terrace neighborhood with the density of this, what's being proposed here, you get to 3.28. And if you really we would look at evaluating this proposal, what we have before us here, as infill development, as the 3.28, which is within that 1.4 units an acre. And so there's been comment letters sent, planning, public utilities, fire, EMS, public works. We looked over that conceptual plan. There's still some comments about that and just some of the proffers that need to be addressed and kind of worked out. So that's you'll see why that kind of leads into one of our recommendation here tonight. But to just recap that analysis, we're looking at this in the context of the neighborhood, so we're going to evaluate it as 3.28 units an acre. If you look at pages 28 and 29 in your staff report, that gives you that density bonus analysis as far as what's all called for in the comp plan and the design guidelines and how does this match up to it. As you can see, this goes a pretty far way as far as trying to meet those quality of life elements that we detail in our policies. How far does that go? That's what we're here to discuss as far as how can this be improved, or is this compatible with what we want to see. We have received, some of the folks here are in the audience, that rightfully so, wondering what's going to go on at the end of my street. And some of those comments we've received already talked about making sure that if there can be any kind of additional buffer or some of the landscaping that people have put money and time into, can that be maintained as you transition from Haley Court into what would be occurring on this piece of land. And so with some of those questions, with some of our ability as staff to kind of receive feedback from yourselves and from the public, we're recommending deferral of the rezoning and the conditional use permit to give some of that further consideration and really get into defining those proffers and what is being proposed here. So I believe the applicant and representative that might have wants to speak as well on it, but
Okay.
That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Would the applicant like to come forward and speak to the commission?
Sure.
Please state your name.
Yes, I'm Joseph Furio, and I'm the designer for our development for Bulifant Homes. I was when there is a recommendation for deferral, that is that's just a recommendation, right? Is there
Correct.
anything that'll happen? Like, will it be automatically deferred?
No,
Okay.
it's ultimately up to the commission.
Well, Garrett did a really good job of presenting it. I don't know if I can add to it because he had looked at this development as it affects the community and the town of Ashland as a whole, that neighborhood in specific. And I think that, one of the concerns I have is, let's say we did build 8 units, and we didn't have to do any of this. We didn't have to meet here today. And I'm just Joe Builder, that is my name. But just for argument's sake, I can go in there and build anything, any 8 units, whatever house that can be approved, whether it could be like an 8,000 square foot McMansion clad in this lovely vinyl, or it could be somebody who's just takes a chance and bought this land and decides, well, I got to develop it and I got to find a way to make some money on this property, and they end up building something, something that where they can squeeze a little profit out of and possibly not enrich that community in any way, shape, or form. It's a big question mark. And from our side of the fence, it did not seem feasible to develop this property at 8 units. And so the idea was to develop 12 units. The initial thinking was, well, if we do duplexes, it's like 6 units, right? But that's really not the case. However, these homes are only duplexes in name. They're barely touching. And between the homes, there are like courtyards off of the master bedroom that the residents could enjoy. So we were developing this land. We were talking and discussing what it would become, what we could do for our project. And the vision that we had is basically a dream that somebody had between one family member and another, this dream to build a 55-plus community. And so in fulfillment of that dream, we went ahead with our proposal for the site. Now, I know that the main sticking point, I believe, is the is it 4.6 units per acre?
Yep.
And that's a tough one to get by. But as Garrett explained so eloquently, there's a lot of pluses and minuses that could mitigate that unusually high number. The quality of the home that's being built, the landscaping. It's not just a street that's straight through. You have a little bit of landscaping and a curve, and also an effort to maintain as many trees as possible on the site currently. There are I'm sorry, I'm stuttering, but I mean, there are other concerns too. You have this idea to develop a property that is a 55-plus community that is universally accessible. In the unlikely event that somebody should be injured or wheelchair bound, they could have full access to the living area of their house. And they could age in place and live happily ever after. Now, I don't know what Macon Terrace is like. Maybe I should have gone and taken pictures. I don't know if that's not a 55-plus community, is it?
No.
See, so where is it in this community that they have a 55-plus community, an age-in-place community? Is there one in the town of Ashland that we know of?
This is your opportunity to share information with the Planning Commission.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the some of the slides.
Sure.
All right, so our lot is somewhere in the middle of that peninsula. And so you have low density north of us and around us, but then south you have medium density, 2 to 5 units per acre. So we're in the middle of 1 to 3 units per acre and 2 to 5 units per acre. So a little on the high side, we're at 4.6 units an acre. And from my point of view, that doesn't seem so much of a sticking point. It's more of like a bridge for that little pocket, if you will. And it could add something to that neighborhood. It could extend the street and further the town, the overall town plan, and get us closer to where streets are connecting and other land is being developed. The land to the west of our lot is also undeveloped, and if perchance that our proposal passes, then that property too has a chance to be developed, and it will not lay vacant as it is now. And there's, besides a low density area, there's also a lot of undeveloped land there. And it's undeveloped, undisturbed, and just growing wild and not producing any happy families or income or memories or tax revenue. So I'd like to look at some of the pictures that I submitted. Is that one of them?
That's your front elevation.
Okay. And there were 2 other front elevations.
On the pictures you had this one. But
And if you go in the file,
they have them in the packet as well.
yes. Yes. So, okay. So I made an effort.
Page 44.
A concerted effort to guarantee that there are no more than 2 houses are alike. But even that in consideration, our intention also is to further develop the elevations so that the differences in materials and some of the detailing would further create more diversity in the design and character of the neighborhood. If you look at the product that we use, Nichiha, Nichiha is a product that's comparable to Hardy Board and Hardy Plank. It's of equal quality. It settles beautifully on a house, and it is factory primed. So it would be ready for anything that Sherwin-Williams has and that other slide.
This guy right here?
The
color chart.
Oh, your
color
color chart.
chart.
Okay.
But let's look at some of the Nichiha products. I just want to show some demonstrations there. The quality is it's a very beautiful product. And then you go, there's a red house. And then there's another house down below. It's a good product. It's built to last. This neighborhood is intended to, it's not a structure that's going to have a usable life of 50 years and then turn into a scraper. Our proposal, the quality of our homes is intended to last 100 years, maybe more. And so we have a gazebo at the end of the street. There's some questions about that. And I think the idea of the gazebo adds a sense of community for that street. It's someplace where people can go and walk and sit down and get out of the sun and talk, maybe have a picnic. It's also a visual enhancement of that community, a landmark that's created there. And I think every neighborhood should have something like that. Most neighborhoods don't. And so that was the idea of the gazebo. And so I would like to end with a small video, a slideshow.
This guy right here.
There's no music, but this is what we originally envisioned without the differences in elevations. And of course, our renderings don't have trees in them. A rendering is very expensive, it's very time consuming, and it requires a lot of memory on your PC. It requires specialized equipment. But as you can see, here's the gazebo, and there's a view of the street. And so the houses in a duplex form are turned at a 90-degree angle because duplexes are typically associated with something that's sandwiched, mirrored. You take a building, you mirror it, you slap it together, you have two driveways, and that's it. That's a duplex. But this is different. We wanted to create something that is more, I guess, organic in its setting. Allows the homeowner to be more engaged in where they live. You have neighbors, you're very close to your neighbors, but you're not door to door with them. You can go for a walk and visit with your neighbor. And it is a duplex. The other thing, too, is that there was some concern about creating a buffer between this project and the neighborhood in Haley Court. And there is room to increase that buffer considerably. And one thing we could do at the beginning of our development, where it connects with Haley Court, is one of the houses can be mirrored. And you could increase the buffer considerably for the neighbors involved. So it's our intention to maintain trees in that buffer, and of course even add trees if it's at all possible. So thank you for letting me present. I don't know why I was rambling. It's just like I had different things on my mind. But
Can I ask a question?
yes,
After the public
After the
hearing.
okay.
After. Mr. Fierro, thank you.
thank you.
Anyone involved with this public hearing still is not open, but anyone involved with the development, are you the only one that would like to come forward, or is there other people here that are involved with the development that would like to speak? Okay, not as part of the public hearing, but I mean as an owner or developer, owner of property or developer, builder.
We would actually be the builders.
Okay, please state your, yeah.
Brett
your-
Bulifant, this is my father, William Bulifant,
Okay,
father and son team.
okay,
We do currently have a construction company based out of Glen Allen. Along with, we also have a company called Renew Homes that we actually buy and purchase and remodel homes around Richmond, which gives to greater enhancing the community around town and taking older homes and actually making them new and for today's families. Those are more or less towards the younger families nowadays. But with this, we'd actually be able to give back in something nice for our older generations.
Like Dad's age.
Yeah.
One for you. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing, and we'll first discuss the rezoning, which is REZ 16-0609. If anyone would like to come forward and talk, that would be great. And are you Ms. Suzanne Allen? Okay, you're the only one that signed up on my sheet, so please again state your name and address.
Suzanne Allen, and I live on 309 Haley Court, the property that adjoins Strawberry Fields. A lot of unanswered questions I have, and being in with the comprehensive plan, low density is what North Macon Terrace wanted to keep, single-family homes, 1 to 4 per acre. Our concerns are the stormwater runoff, the plans to use our existing one on Haley Court. I understand that's going to be in a planning when they do the engineering study. The HOAs, how are they going to mirror them in between the two subdivisions? Green space, which I think the architect has addressed because I spoke to him earlier. But there's a lot of unanswered questions. Ashland is very low lying, and my property is very low. This is a little bit higher. Drainage is a big concern because if they cut all the trees down and then replant, it's going to drain into either Haley Court or Cali. So that's some of the concerns that I want the Planning Commission to look at. Green space, utilities, and that kind of thing. So I would like to stay into the 1 to 4 per acre to keep that same buffer going for the surrounding community.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Hi, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike Pence. I'm with Virginia Real Estate and Development. I'm the listing agent and marketing agent for this property, and I'd like to inform the Commission a little bit about what this property entails so that a wise decision can be made as to where it's going to go. This property is in an estate. It belongs to an estate. It's an older property. It's already been through a legal partition suit in the county of Hanover County. This property is destined to be sold. It is going to be sold to someone. And in doing that, the by right entitlement allows for 8 units. 8 units on that amount of acreage is going to take the necessary trees down, comply with the recommendations, and that's what it's going to be. So what is being sought after as far as engineering, wetlands, all of these type of things will have a complying factor with what codes and recommendations are in your staff and your town is at present. So that's not going to be denied. That's going to be complied with. But what you're looking at here, you're looking at a raw cost with 8 units of $40,000 per unit just to buy the unit. That's what Mr. Bulifant would be looking at. Where things are, and there were several meetings that I was a part of, where things are with tying roads together, certain grid systems as far as your utilities, certain compliances with sidewalks and other regulations, they would beautify your town at this point in time. Those things cost money. And all of that has an added cost. People like Mr. Bulifant and these folks in here, these are energetic people that have lived here, Mr. Bulifant has, in the town of Ashland, and they have a motive and an attitude towards what they want to produce for the town of Ashland. If this property does not go the way that it's looking at this point in time, think about it. We've got a raw cost. We got somebody that's overbuilding a property. What are you told about in real estate? Don't overbuild the neighborhood. You're overbuilt for a neighborhood. You value, you're not going to sell your house. They're coming in telling you that they're going to overbuild. They're going to give you a product better than the norm. If you turn this down, if this is turned down, what's going to happen potentially is that nobody's going to buy it because they can't make any money. These people are not going to do a gratuitous type of building type of thing, nor is anyone else. But what's going to happen in here, the property would get renegotiated. If the property got renegotiated and then found a builder that was willing to take the property at a price that a margin could be obtained, then we're going to have a neighborhood with consistency of values in there, as opposed to picking values up, getting up to a level that the tax dollars for the town are profitable as opposed to meeting minimum criteria. So all of these things, we're looking at business decisions. I know you say, well, wetlands and trees and green, and we all know all that stuff. We hear about everything. I used to come to the planning commission meetings with Mr. Stanley and went on with that with Norman Contreras for years. We had the same stuff there. I waited and had people timing the watches and how long it took to get on 54. But what the question is here, do you want a quality product that these people can produce? You know, may not have looked like saw you everything there, but they've met with the town, and they've met over a period of time and diligently done so and been very willing. I think Nora, you and Garrett would agree with that. Been very willing to give everything that was requested. They're going to give you something better than what is asked for. They're asking you to help them. That's all that's being done. So we've got a decision to make. Do we want a quality product, or do we want people like me to have to go back and have to still market this property for the estate? I can't think of Jeffrey is the gentleman's name at the county, but he's the attorney handling this estate. Do we want to go back, remarket this property, come in with what's necessary? It's going to be sold. Trees are coming down. End of story. That's going to happen. You know, what do you want? You want the best you can get. These people will try to give it to you and be reasonable to do so per your request. Somebody else is not. They're going to say it has a by right. I'm going to do what by right is. These people are going to be complied with doing what by right is. Somebody pays the taxes. Thank you. Any questions? As a real estate agent, anything of that nature that I could give you any relative information to try to better understand what you're dealing with as far as property and value.
We appreciate you. Your
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Your information. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward to speak about the rezoning? Okay, the public hearing is closed for rezoning 160609. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I'm starting
Mr.
again.
Flanagan, you start.
Can we go back to the your wonderful rendition of the boxes? Had the yellow.
With zoning or future land use?
It was it's labeled in my packet as proposed, and you sketched
one.
out a couple roads. And, yeah,
Or the aerial?
That right there. That's beautiful. Based on, so I was trying to compare a couple of them, but I wanted to start with this one. And yes, I do know that this is throwing up boxes, and so it's not exact. I'm trying to figure out exactly where these buildings can start, and specifically the ones on the corner of Cali and Haley. Because my understanding that there are two other buildings, am I correct, on the east side of where Cali would be extended? Two other structures.
Here?
No, sir. Within this property. And well, perhaps we should go to. There was an aerial view that he had done up with the green. Further down, I believe. There you go. Those. What are those two?
What are these two? Mm-hmm. We could have the applicant speak to that.
Yes.
You'll need to come up front.
Please come up, because
Sorry,
Okay, thank you.
don't mean to
Your
get you
evening
doing your up
exercise.
downs, but
Well, those are property maintenance buildings. I suppose that one is an office for the homeowners association, and the other one is just a property maintenance shed.
all right. I was trying to figure out where, according to maps, how the streets are going to line up, how we're squeezing those in and still getting all 6 homes. I know we're talking about 12. I'm just looking at one side of the street getting those buildings in, all 6 homes. I think there was on one rendition, there's a parking lot there, which now, with you telling me
page
it's an
43.
office. I'm sorry?
Yeah, page 43. It's got what you're talking about labeled. Those would be accessory structures. They would have to be 5 feet from the side and rear property line. Can't remember the accessory structures.
On a corner lot, this would be considered.
Yeah, so what's it say with accessory structure setback on a corner lot?
Yes.
I can't remember that off the
Yeah,
top of my
yeah.
head.
So that's a separate lot there. And then we've got from that point, so part the way through, and I guess I'm having a tough time with where the lines are north of that versus what's on different ones, trying to pair up. It looks like there's going to be roughly 6 units, whereas the rest of the subdivision, that same width space, would have roughly 4, so about a unit and a half per. If you're doing apples to apples comparison with the properties that are going to back up to it, is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm trying to get where you're counting 6 units at.
Aren't the 3 on the north side actually 6 units?
Yes, correct? Yep.
That's the 6.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Versus north of that, which is North Macon Terrace.
Yep.
Properties.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right, but this one shows 5. But if and that's what I'm trying to compare is that versus these others, like your aerial map where you added in. That's the reason I was going to start there. Is by the time you add in the utility buildings, it looks like there's going to be 4. Yeah, but there's going to be
On page 42.
Here, so
On page 42, you have the layout of North Macon Terrace, the different lot ones, because that's your plat on page 42. And so to the north, if we're looking at the screen right here, and you're looking at the 6 units are that to the north of this road, backing up in that backyard would be 5.
So 28 to 32.
Yep.
Of which some of that's going to be eaten by roadway and some of it by those auxiliary
Yes.
buildings.
And where they have labeled as Lot 8 on page 43 as that separate one, we would not allow that to be a separate lot just for accessory structures. So that's one of the questions we still have to work on, like meeting, like that just wouldn't be allowed in zoning as far as like creating an own lot for an accessory structure.
So it's potentially the shed being used as an office for the unit right next to it.
Located, it's going to have to be located on lot
on
4.
that lot.
Yep.
Would we have to do different zoning and things to be able to have an office in a residential property like that?
No, I don't think so.
We'll look into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they'd have to comply with the home occupation.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a statement to make. Those 2 sheds are just right now highly speculative. And, we could do other things, even exclude them perhaps if it's necessary. There was just a question of having a shed
Something on site. Right.
for lawn equipment, but that could be off-site.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my. We were given like 8 different maps, and I'm trying to get my brain so that I've got one map.
Yeah.
That's all I'm
I
doing
gave
there.
you a map for each
Yeah.
unit.
But for you all, the utility office, can you talk about what do you envision for that? Is a person there? Is that just like basically a shed where you compile some paperwork and then if needed?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's,
You could either have one shed.
if you want to come on up.
Mr. Bulifant, thank you.
Part of the reason we just to have it there was part of like the homeowners association. It's like, part of it would be, pressure washing the units, keeping them clean, and also snow removal on the sidewalks and stuff for the people that live in the community. So, and plus grounds and maintenance. So all I really wanted was an area to keep my stuff stored here. And maybe, it's not a manned office by any means. It's no reason to have anybody there. I just live in Churchill and I just don't like dragging equipment around. It's just easy to leave stuff right there, All right, that's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's why people have sheds type thing. But it's good to define that.
I mean,
And
it's
then-
similar to any other HOA community type facility that we would allow.
Storage of lawn equipment, et cetera.
Right. Yeah, there's some, yeah, on one of them, it just showed a parking lot and mentioned off, and so I just want to get my
No,
head
those are
wrapped
good
around
questions.
that. And then another one is, I know there are scenarios like this, and once roads get extended to the south and the west at some point in time in the future, could be tomorrow, could be 100 years from now, it's different. But as of right now, we're going to have an HOA whose only access point is through another HOA, being that of North Macon Terrace. But is that something, and I guess legally speaking, they're going to have to sort out where those sidewalks touch
No.
each other?
Those are all public roads
It's
and
like a-
public sidewalks that we would require to line up.
So we maintain
Yes, sir.
and take care of all of that, but like when they're talking about snow removal and
We
or-
don't
but-
snow,
Yeah,
remove
yeah.
snow on sidewalks, right, but we
Right.
would remove the snow on their streets.
So there, but and I guess what I'm going with there is there are examples of other communities in and around our area where it's the same HOA, but it's broken out into different, in essence, subsections where one group might have to pay nothing, the next group pays this, the next group pays this kind of thing, and it's all handled in that scenario. There are some subdivisions that are like this, but usually they have their own entrance and exit and everything else. I understand it's public roadways. We don't anticipate any issue with Cali Street, for example, how it's going to affect things where one side maybe has grass and maintenance of certain things and something else. That's just, they're going to deal with its
We
neighborhoods.
try to stay really far away from those things, honestly. I mean, that's a private property matter that we try to stay away from. The streets and the sidewalks will
That's
all
us.
be built to our town standards and will be maintained as such.
All right.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does.
we try to stay away from it.
That answered it. Between this, we might end up having one shed back there kind of thing, which a lot of the communities have and have equipment in. That answers that one. I guess I'll just throw out my biggest concern, then release the mic to somebody else. Is looking at the zoning and where everything is. This is kind of, and I know future could be something different, but it's kind of an island in and of itself. Where yes, a half a block away there is something else, but the same can be true or said about Route 1 businesses. Well, I want to have one of those businesses 2 doors down on College Avenue. Well, it's not exactly where you want that. And so that's, I guess my biggest concern here right now is just how that's going to be a part of the community as opposed to an island within it. But thank you.
Good point. Other comments and questions?
I'm not an architect, but I'm curious about the second floor in an age-in-place community. I mean, I would encourage folks to use steps as much as possible, but it just...
Mr. Bulifant.
William Bulifant again. Yeah, I wanted that extra area because there was a couple people that I was trying to solicit for business, and one of them would be people that are downsizing. So that extra area, without offering them a garage, it's like a transformer space in the front. It's a carport to be able to get out of your house, get out of your car and go in the house, or utilize it as a porch. But then the square footage on the upstairs is just, also, I've done homes or remodels for people that were getting older, that were setting their time to pass or whatever. They know they were going, they know that they were preparing themselves, and they would take and transform a bedroom or extra square footage for like a live-in nurse, bathrooms, loved ones. So what I wanted to do is initially give them, sometimes people when they get a certain age, they sleep in 2 bedrooms. Sometimes they sleep in 1. So the downstairs floor plan shows the 2 bedrooms in case they want to sleep in opposite bedrooms, or they could have that as a guest room. But it gives them the available square footage of, what if some guy is still working and he's retired, and so he wants to have a home office? I've got 2 bedrooms and a bath upstairs. I wanted to be able to utilize the square footage, but build it with that utilization that, I'm kind of, as a builder, I kind of hope they'll buy it, and then I'll finish off the upstairs. But if they're at a point in their lives they don't need it, I still wanted to keep the architectural interesting, around the neighborhood with all my roof lines and stuff to match. So yeah, the space is there. It's going to be roughed in, for a bath upstairs, but and it's like 2 bedrooms too. But you could use it for whatever you chose to. But I don't know. I just see the need for the extra square footage for storage, for downsizing people, and or live-in facility for like a nurse or even a loved one to come take care of them. That's all I wanted. Thanks.
Thank you. So what if the age in place, what if they didn't sell, and we had to come back and say, well, let's drop the restriction for age in place and open it to the community? What are we faced with if that happens?
You have to go through the rezoning process and amend the cup.
So if it's not amended, they just sit empty.
Say much about your town. There's a builder. There's a builder in Powhatan that's doing something real similar to this. And I just know personally that Ashland's a whole lot better town. It's with the ease and access to the highway, with the college here. I've lived here. But I met a builder that's doing something really similar in Powhatan, and he initially built the same style and type, kind of like this in Powhatan, and he did it to be able to bring some of the people that were out further in Powhatan into the village of Powhatan so they would feel more comfortable. What happened was, he said, what's going on now, he's more or less an order taker for these homes. People have found out that the people, they're coming in from other states to be a part of the community. I just see with Ashland being a community town, I just see that I don't see this being a failure by any means. I don't even see it could possibly fail.
But you understand it's our possible. We have to explore the possibilities.
Yeah, I would explore it and look at it, but just because my price is not that much higher than the next, it is a little bit. But that's why I was leaving the second, it's unfinished square footage. I could build on what I have, or I could sell it for where it is. I just see it being really enhancing this area. I wouldn't go into this if I was projecting failure, or even looking at it. I would like to consider it a winning neighborhood for this. I just see a win-win. The location it's to be a part of this town. This is as close as I could get with something that I could find for sale to do this. This is the area that I wanted to do. I just see Ashland being appealing to a lot of people, and even Northerners. They could find a really nice quality built home, and with ease of access to the highways and stuff, they could people could come visit, or they could go back and go travel. That's why I kind of want it to be something a little bit nicer, because I believe that other builder shared with me. He says when people reach a certain age, they're really not afraid to spend to get exactly what they want. I want to deliver a package for people to be able to move into their home, to feel totally comfortable, and deliver them a quality product that they can. Like I'm supposed to, just stay there. It'll be the last home they'll have to purchase. Everything will be ease of access for that person. They'll never have to leave until they pass. And then I've worked with older people that once they do get to a certain age and stuff, this is almost like death planning or whatever. You buy your home to stay. You don't have to move. You don't have to go to convalescent care. You can have the care come to you. And I don't know.
While we have you at the mic, we don't have the floor plans up there, do we?
I can bring them up.
The first floor, it mentioned 1610 square feet. Is that for the combined units?
No, that's one unit. Individual units.
So it's 1,600 square feet in one.
And that's just the first floor?
One side of the duplex.
One side.
3,200 square footage of square footage for the two. First floor.
All right.
16 for one. They're nice.
And the second floor was like 900?
I don't know about age and place communities, but if there's an age restriction and someone does come in as a caretaker, do they have to come to us for approval for that to be renovated for that, or is that part of
the HOA?
Generally, it just has to be one person who's 55 and older.
Okay.
But the caretaker is something else anyway. In town, we've already got. Yeah.
I do have some comments. Well, you just got your inside plan up. The one that we were showing the outside?
Yep.
And yes, that one, okay. 55 and older, I'm thinking, some may still have 2 cars. And the center units share driveways. There's 4 driveways, 6 units, so the 2 center driveways are shared to get to the carport. And so you're pretty much, we're talking through our packet, I believe, off-street parking, but yet somebody's got to park out there, or if they have visitors or things like that. That's one thing that I see a little crowding, if you will. If you'd like to come forward and address that, that'd be fine, Mr. Ferrero. I've got other questions, too.
Yes, there's parking underneath the carport. And so in the middle units, you see there's a cluster of 2 carports.
Right.
And then there's a larger parking area in between that, which I believe can accommodate 2 more cars. So that's 2 cars per unit. I don't, there's always somebody who has 3 cars, 4 cars. But
2 drivers.
we're
3
projecting that the typical homeowner would be downsizing. If they really wanted to, they could park in the backyard, maybe. But that's not what we're proposing. Two cars per unit is what we're proposing comfortably.
And actually, I mean, if you get cars parked on the street, that's going to slow down traffic going through it. So that's why we have on-street parking.
Right.
Also from a
yes.
traffic calming
Yes, it
perspective.
does. Okay. We were talking age 55 and over community. Do you all speculate that, let's say, I'm living in one of these places and I decide that I want a niece or a child or someone who's under this age, and they're coming to live with me, and then there's children involved too, because I want my upstairs finished. And is that going to be something addressed
In the proffers,
in the homeowners, or?
homeowners association.
Because we talked about the 12 units maybe not require a lot of traffic or school buses or things like that, and that would add probably more traffic and school buses.
Yeah, I'll be 55 in 3 years, and I've got a 5 and an 8-year-old. So I mean, where does that? I could move in and have kids there. I got a 1-year-old. Yeah, so I mean that throws the whole thing out of the whole community.
You don't need the
thing.
upstairs too. These are
55
things.
plus with kids.
These are things that I think I know you can't answer right now, but it is questions that I have. Are there one other thing, where you're talking about patios between the so-called duplexes, the small areas, and they have access from each, would you have something that they were not to be used for storage? Because I can see people just, especially the back, you can't see those, so.
Using them as storage?
Well, for
open
anything.
patios?
Open patios stuck out there with anything that the
washing
rain's, or that the rain's not going to hurt. So, because I know they're not roof covered.
Yeah.
So those,
I envisioned that, imagining myself, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you're not.
But I imagine myself as potentially someone living there and having this really nice patio, maybe with a little fence, and I'd have my my little puppy out there sunning or just protecting the yard with some plants, a little cast iron table for 2, somewhere where I could have my coffee and read my paper or
Be
read
outside.
my Kindle. So that was what was in my. It never occurred to me that somebody would just use it for storage.
Trust me. Creativity.
But
I guess that would be addressed in homeowners as well. But these,
That's right.
These are things that.
Well, in the way that there's another community in our area, Arlington Square actually has conjoined sheds behind it to promote don't set it on your back patio, because they,
giving you a place not.
even though they're downsizing and retiring, probably going to keep a hammer and things of that nature and have a place to put it.
And we have the conditional use permit as well. So that might be a condition we look at.
Right, right. And
far
I
as
know
that
we
goes
haven't, that is true. I'll get it all in one.
Yep.
Another thing, and I keep going back to the homeowners, since it is a 55 and over community, would this include like outside maintenance, maintaining, okay, I'm getting Mr. Bullifont's, okay. Care of the lawn, the whole thing. Are there other places that look identical to this that are built somewhere else? You mentioned Powhatan, but are there
No, I
other?
don't copy anything.
Okay.
Everything's original.
Okay.
Actually,
In other words, physically, could we go and go somewhere in Henrico or Chesterfield or city?
Village concept in Powhatan, it's really, really, really simple. I mean, if y'all did go out there to see it, y'all should go see it. I mean, what I found was so amazing.
I'm sorry, but
Exercise.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, what I found was so amazing because this was my mom's dream that she had, and she wanted me to do this years ago. So this is what I'm trying to fulfill. And like, so every place that I'm remodeling to do, when I go circle the neighborhoods and see what's going on, see what my competition looks like, see what's happening in the communities. You know, that's when I stumbled upon this guy. I think his name is Michael Poole or something like that. It's called not Scottsville, but Scottville. It's in the village. I would invite you all to go check it out. And that's what he did. He developed a small village, a small town within a town. And it's like, and so I started with Joe getting this stuff going, and I found the lots, and so I was getting all the stuff going. And then I ride up into this little community, and when I ride through there, I see these people a little bit older than me. You know, they're a little bit older than me, like walking their dogs and hanging out and having fun. It looked like little Miami or something, you know. It was just cool. And everybody, and I asked the people, and they said that they loved the builder, they loved the community, and they loved the concept. And these people were like from Jersey, you know, and they said they were lucky that they stumbled upon and found this there. I'm going, wow, you know, Ashland's so much cooler. You know, so I'm going, you know, this would be a better town to have something like that. You know, I mean, this has so much more to offer to somebody that is from somewhere else to come here. I mean, it is an inviting town. And so, I don't know, I saw that community at work and working and people living and loving the style of home and where they're at and the sense of community, everybody about the same age, just a fellowship that is associated with that. And then I'm going, if it's working there, I know it's going to work here. There's no way it's going to fail. I mean, I just know it's going to work here. And so,
And I can send it, they had previously dropped off some information on
Thank you.
Scottville, and I'll send that around to everyone and include
Okay.
that in the packet for you all
Okay.
out there as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you for getting up and down.
Oh, don't.
Sorry, yeah, I've got a question
There's
while
some
you're up
questions.
I
here.
have Bob Brown questions.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just very,
Mr. Murray, and then
very briefly, is this something that you'd anticipate building in one pass of construction, or it'd be phased? One pass. Okay. Thank you.
Don't go.
Bob Brown.
Mr. Brown, our commissioner who couldn't be here this evening, had a couple of questions, and so I'm just going to ask them for you this evening so that his fellow commissioners can hear, and then you have a chance to get back to us on it. So he wondered why the road was not straight and the lots at a normal town
yes.
not angled. Why are they angled? He wants to know why the units are angled.
Well, the most recent submission I made shows the road is a little straighter than it is now in this image. And the lots are angled because the overall size of the site is, like a polygon or something. It's not square. So I'm trying to mitigate the shape of the site and the direction of the road to maximize lot size. Certain lots have lines that come in at an angle, and they're not straight. They allow for a little bit of tug and pull and a little bit of finessing to get all of the properties to work in concert with each other.
And his next question is, why do you have 2 units on one lot and not split them up so that someone owns their own lot and their own structure?
Oh, yes. A very good question. Well, we didn't...
I mean the footprint. Like the footprint.
Usually with a duplex, a lot of times with a duplex, there's a line in between the middle of the building, so someone owns their portion
Yes.
of the unit and the land around it. Or even they just own, sometimes they just own the building, but
I see.
We're doing that as an obstacle coalition, so you wouldn't catch it. It looked like we want to build 6 houses.
No, I looked at that for a while. I know that the idea from the very beginning was there was a strong impetus to go with a single-family attached. And so over time, I just focused on that. But
so how
I
are
did-
these units going to be sold?
they'll be sold as independently as separate units. But they're,
Would it be a condo?
I think it does.
You can share ownership of the lot. I
It
mean,
would be 12 lots, you believe? Okay.
yes, because I did a zoning study and to allow for a duplex on a single lot.
if
The
it's
lot had to be a certain size, and that's the information that I went with.
if it's 12 lots, though, don't you have side setbacks that would
But for
Make
single-family
it-
attached.
The reason they're going for this zoning is because it allows for single-family attached.
Yeah,
right?
So
But a
you-
single family attached, if I thought was on one lot, single family attached, not 2 lots. So you're saying if I own 2 lots next to each other and go single family attached and just put the house right in the middle of it,
I was looking at the
2 homes,
the zoning
where there's a line.
The
information
line would be in the middle.
provided
So you
by
don't
the
have
town of Ashland for R3.
Yeah, to keep it simple from what we got, there was an oversight. It is supposed to be, however you want to look at it, it could be lot A, lot, 1A, 1B, lot 2, AB, lot 3, AB, or however you want to count it. You can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, yes, for any lender to lend money on that, you're going to have to own the land underneath it, for the most part, because it's not a condo or whatever. So it's got to be divided up into, there's just an oversight in the drawing process. Yes, each house will have its own lot and property. That's, make it simple.
Yeah, but from the town of Ashland's website, I downloaded the zoning information for R3, R4, and it said specifically for single-family attached, it gave a specific lot size, and that's what I went with.
and a duplex is 1 lot, 2 units on the same property. The one my grandmother lived in. I mean, it's a brick ranch house. There's one on Thompson Street. There's one on, they're all over the place. It's 1 lot, 2 units.
If I can try to address that question a little bit. It's basically, they call it zero lot line construction, where it is an attached, 2 homes that are attached. They mostly run across in Richmond City. A lot of homes are going to go conjoined homes. Each lot is separate. They would just label those, mostly in the city, are 20, 25-foot wide lots. But with that, there is a zero lot line.
I just didn't know that
Got
our
it.
zoning allowed for that is the reason I was. Richmond, completely different,
Yes.
all day long. You got them, down
Good
any
example
boulevard
there.
kind of thing. But I thought in Ashland, you had certain setbacks that if there's a lot line, otherwise it is a duplex and 1 lot, they share, in essence, a wall.
Well, you and Mr. Brown here bring up a good point, and that's why we're recommending deferral, because I think some of these questions as far as how this actually works with compatibility, Mr. Furio is 100% correct. Minimum lot size, 10,000 square feet in R3, whether you're doing single-family home, 2-family, duplex, whatever. So that's something we need to look at as far as if their desire is to sell it lot, house, all on one, but that there's 2 lots and the homes are close together, then those individual lots would have to be 10,000 square feet. I think that's where you're going with your comment. Which is not much together there. Those are about 13,000 square feet lot. So that's and that's what we mean by the comment letter, and some of those comments are outstanding, and we have to look through the proffers and through this conceptual plan a little bit. We don't want to approve or a proffer that lays out a concept plan that can't be developed in regulation. So there's still some of those points that need to be addressed.
Okay, I'd like to add to that. again, going back to what I said earlier, I'm basing my information on the zoning sheet
Correct.
that is on the website. Minimum lot size for single family, either alone or attached. And that's how I did it. Now, deciding when people purchase their units, where is the yard divided, exactly where, who has what side of the yard, that should be something that should be addressed with the homeowners association.
Yes and no. More so no. Because for subdivision and where your lot line's going to go, that needs to be what is shown up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it's going to be a regulatory tool as far as what needs to be met. Now, how you maintain the landscaping, what color street lights you put out there, homeowners association, that type of thing. But where the lot lines are specifically going to be, that's something we need to figure out now in the process up front, so we know. So what you've submitted so far shows basically 6 lots. If your desire is to do 12 lots, then we have to look at that as far as you're 100% correct, meeting those zoning
And
requirements.
if it's 12 lots, it
Yep.
needs 10,000 per.
Yep.
But if it's 6 lots, it's the 13 meets the 10,000.
Yes.
But you have 2 single-family homes, which, yeah, it just.
Yeah, and so what you're looking at here today, minus lot 7 and lot 8, meets the zoning code as far as minimum lot coverage requirement and amount of road frontage. But if so you'd have to sell this in some type of HOA common area, but you could sell it, per home type thing. But you'd have to do it within those 6 lots.
I see.
Yep.
-7 and -8, so those
Yep.
would be excluded. Go ahead, does somebody else have a question?
Sorry,
you have
Mr.
some
Murray, you
questions,
seem
Mr.
like you had
Fier?
something
Well,
to
I'm
say.
just, I'm confused about whether or not we actually resolved anything there.
Okay.
We're going to get back to you on a
I
lot of
think
that.
that was.
We're still under
We need to do
discussion
some
with that.
homework.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion for the rezoning?
Before a motion, I'll just say that because there are some unanswered questions, there's no way that I could see myself being able to go forward today with it. Yes, and I don't want to say no when there's questions that could be answered, that type of thing. I'll reissue my same concern just so that it's kind of seen in the future, and that is just the number of units compared to everything around it, and whether it's truly in keeping with that. I like the concept, and I do think that Ashland does need that 55 and older type of scenario. I like the one story, idea and square footages and prices. I can see that being potentially upgrading those prices a little bit in that area. See all those positives, but I do have questions over exactly how it needs to be done. I don't want to get into the homeowners association like line by line, how are you cutting this blade of grass? But at the same time, I do want to make sure that there's some type of avenue with the town so that we don't have another slash cottage. And I don't mean anything negative by that. I lived there, loved living there, loved my wide streets. But that was a scenario where there was a lot of association talked about, and it never actually happened. And so want to make sure that something is formalized there, and real estate-wise have gone into 1 or 2 communities where they've said, oh, it's going to be this type of square footage, which being proffered is something different. But in the homeowners association, you asked them about the association and what was set forward, and they just hadn't come up with anything. And so some of these questions, it might be that these are single family and all of that property is taken care of by the association. That's part of their dues. And so it's a moot point, but that's only if it's done that way. But anyway, so with that being said, if nobody else has anything, I'll make a motion.
Ready for a motion?
Let me
Got it up on the screen if you need.
I want to make a motion to defer both the rezoning and Cup, I'm sorry.
Haven't
You
had
haven't
the,
had the public hearing.
Oh,
haven't had the CUP.
I thought it
yet.
was a joint, okay. For the rezoning of 16-06-09.
Nancy?
Mr. Murray?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Flanagan?
Aye.
Ms. Jewell?
Aye.
All ayes.
We'd like to have more information. Clarity. Next item is the public hearing on the CUP involving the same property, 16-0609. Shall
I
we?
have a quick 60-minute presentation. We'll go. No, I'm kidding.
We have a quick 60-second presentation that Garrett already gave us. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to come forward? We're open a public hearing for the CUP on this. Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Or is there any discussion up on the commission for this?
I think we kind of lumped it all in together.
Yeah, we did lump it in together, and I think that we just need a motion on this as well.
Make a motion to defer CUP 16-0609.
Nancy?
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Flanagan?
Aye.
Mr. Murray?
Aye.
Ms. Jewell?
Aye.
All ayes.
Okay.